syllabus. So in syllabus, right, we'll talk about, uh, I will talk about brief history of, you know, uh, JavaScript, and also, we'll talk about, how variables are declared, what are different types of data type, assignment operators. Okay. We'll talk about arrays, objects, right? How functions are declared, and when we talk about data types, right? We have few data types like number, string, right? So we'll talk about their specific inbuilt methods. Okay. There is a datetime class as well in JavaScript. We'll talk about that. We'll look at loops and control statements. We'll talk about error handling. We have classes concept in JavaScript, so we'll look at that. Then we have modules. Basically, when I declare a function, right? Now, I define a structure of it. So how would I use it in the other file, right? Basically, what we do is we create modules for it. Okay? And then we look at asynchronous and synchronous programming concepts, or as async and await. Okay. So these would be um, you know things, I would say topics that we would be taking up in our JavaScript sessions. Okay. Then we'll move to TypeScript. So until unless you know JavaScript, you will not be able to learn TypeScript, because JavaScript is like TypeScript is just a wrapper around JavaScript. So there are a couple of, I would say, shortcomings in JavaScript which are resolved by TypeScript, as well as um, there are new features that are there in you know TypeScript. Okay, that helps you in writing a better program. So we'll talk about how to set up TypeScript on your machine. We have different set of data types there. So we look at that. Okay. We'll look at how to declare a function, what is an object there. We'll look at the oops concept in TypeScript, generics, enum, modules, and basically TypeScript is as I said, is a wrapper over JavaScript, right? So the TypeScript code does not get executed directly. What happens is TypeScript gets converted, like code gets converted into JavaScript, and JavaScript code gets executed. Okay. So there are set of rules that needs to be followed. Like TypeScript should know what are the rules that I need to follow. So that is driven through TS config file. There is a JSON file that has all the rules set. So whenever you like whenever you are converting your TypeScript code to JavaScript, what will happen is it will refer that TS config file, and then it will convert it to your respective JavaScript code. Okay. So we'll look at that part. Okay. So this is all about um, TypeScript syllabus. Okay. Then we'll look at Playwright. We'll look at how to set up Playwright. We'll write for our first test, and I'll show you, how do we write test. Okay. We'll look at locators. How do we find locators on the web page? Uh, there are actions like, there are a couple of methods, in Playwright, for clicking, interacting with the uh, basically checkboxes, input fields, right? So, there are many actions that we would be looking at. And then we'll talk about weights that are there in Playwright. We'll talk about assertions. Okay. Important annotations that you have it in Playwright framework. We'll talk about fixtures like I would say page, browser context. Okay. These are the fixtures. And Playwright also obeys some rules that are specified in the config file. So we'll learn about the config file in Playwright. Playwright also provides a lot of facilities like retrying, debugging the code, code gen, base viewer. These are inbuilt facilities. Okay, so we'll look at that. We'll look at how to run test in parallel, in serial, right? See, like, you can do it in parallel, multiple threads, as well as you can execute test in single thread as well. Okay. Uh, how to generate HTML report. We'll look at API testing. And the last part that you see here, right? Okay, is basically how a page model is created, how in the industry, right, a framework is developed, how parameterization of the data is done. Okay, we look at these part here. Then we'll have a brief introduction of what exactly is Git, some of the commands that you would be using in your day-to-day life. We'll talk about that. And once all these things are completed, we'll have our repository and we'll connect this repository to our um, CI/CD pipeline. Okay, it might be in Azure DevOps or it might be in Jenkins. Okay. So we'll create some pipeline and we'll run the same set of code. So this is all about the syllabus that we would be looking at in this Playwright course. Okay. Any doubts? Any questions do you have?
For now, no.
About you, Rohit, no, Dhaneshwari, and Shri.
No, sir, no. Not at the moment.
So a few of you have come from Java and Selenium background. Okay. So I think uh, initially what I'll do is I'll show you. You might have gone through my induction, but I'll take the same example again. I'll show you how do we write code in uh, Selenium and how can we do it in uh, I would say Playwright. Okay. So let me open one you know, website. Let me do that. We'll say Playwright. This is our website. Okay. Here, what I do is I'll click on getting started. Once I click on getting started, okay, I just check the header of this page, right? If I go here, right, the header is, the tag is h1, the HTML tag, and the value is installation. Okay. So we need to check this. Okay. So coming back, right, what I'll do is I'll click on this getting started. So I'll get the locator of this element of getting started, which is an anchor tag. Okay. And the class is get started underscore. It's done, right? This is the identifier. Okay. So if I copy this, right, if I say something like this, right, I'm able to get to the location of that specific element, right? So I've already done that. So my test has already, like we have already done. So let me comment few things that are not required, is it? Mhm. What I've done is like this is C sharp, but Java and C sharp are almost same. Coding standards remains the same. Okay, it's just a mirror image. If you know Java, you can work on C sharp as well. Okay. So now what I do is, I'm creating a driver object, and then what I'll do here is I'll navigate to that specific location, and then I'll click on getting started. I've got the web element, and I'm clicking on it, and after I click on it, I land on to this page wherein I need to just check that the header is installation on. Okay. So I get the locator of that h1 where the header resides. Okay, and then I'm just checking that that the text that is there in the header is installation. This is only the thing that I'm I'm validating. Let me run this test. run this test, you know, Chrome would come up. See, my test failed. It said that, this element, right, was not present. No such element exists. So if you see here, if I try to find the same element on my web page, right, the same page, right, let's try to find it. So it's still, it's there, but my test failed. Why did it fail? The reason why it failed is, let me close this, is that it did not wait it for, you know, the element to come up. Right? Yes or no?
Yeah.
It was not waiting for the element to come. Right? So what I'll be doing is, in Selenium, what I'll do is, I'll just close this window. I'll initialize the implicit wait. I'll create an object for the explicit wait. And then here I'm saying that, wait for that element to be displayed. And then, validation should take place. So what I'm doing is, I am basically, you know, I'm waiting for that element to come up, right? I'm writing special code for waiting for that specific element, right? Okay. If I do this, right, now if I run this test, see my test passed, right? So what what we have observed, okay? Let me open my notepad business. One thing is that I have to write, if the weight was not there, right? Okay, I had to write extra code for waiting for element to be present, right? The other thing is, if you see here, right, my test pass, but do I have any logs here? No, I have to specifically specify logs here. Okay, so I'll say console.log, console.writeLine. We say invoking the console, right? Similarly, we say console.writeLine. I'll say uh, implicit wait applied. And here, just close this thing. Console.writeLine. Okay, we'll say navigating to this URL. So I'll say console.log, console.writeLine. So let's say clicked on getting content, right? Now I'll say console.writeLine. Say where is. Now I'll run the test again. See, I'm getting all the logs here. So I had to write extra code for getting the execution logs. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing is there's no HTML reporting, right? Inbuilt. I have to, you know, get a third party report, like, basically use a third party report, right? For, you know, for getting the HTML report. Yes or no? Yeah. So, these were few things that I could see that I am doing extra in Selenium, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
So now, coming back to my playwright, right? Let me see. I have a like as I just close this folder and I'll see. Let me open. I think this is good. Okay. So now I have this already written. Okay. So what I'm here doing here is, navigating to the same URL, playwright, okay, clicking on the same element. If I, you know, keep it side by side, let's do that. Where is my, yeah. So here I was invoking the browser. Okay. So in Playwright, I need not to invoke the browser automatically. The browser is getting invoked, right? I need not to write any specific code for it. The other thing is, if you see here what I'm doing, I'm just using these three lines of code, right? Navigating to that specific element, like the URL, and then I'm clicking on the getting started link, and then I'm validating that the header is installation. Yes or no? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I've written three lines of code wherein in that simple scenario, right, I had to write so many lines of code in Selenium, right? Coming back here. Now I'll run this test. So let me see the folder structure. Can directly run it. So I'll say npx playwright test. See, so what are things that we observe with playwright? First of all, first of all, here we had here we were writing extra code for waiting for the element, right? Okay. In playwright we have auto waits. So no extra code is needed. Code need to be written for waiting for the element to be visible. Yes or no? Yes? No? Everything was done automatically, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what else? See, if I go and check my, I'll say show report, right? See, an HTML report is getting generated automatically. So, you know, in the earlier stage, right, we did not have an inbuilt HTML reporting. Right? Okay. Here we have 14%. Yeah. So there is no extra code required. HTML code, HTML reporting is there for us, right? And one more thing that if you observe it, you have this HTML report, you have all the logins, and so no extra code required for doing it, right? Right? Yes or no? You can see the logs as well, right? In my earlier case, I had to write ex especially extra code for getting all the logs, right? Yeah. So third is inbuilt problems. So whatever that were, you know, you were getting some like some things that were not present in the earlier framework. You're getting all those, right? Now, if you see here, right, I want to see what happened exactly in the test. I'm getting the report as well, okay, but I want to see in detail, right, how things went. So here, there is a facility called trace. So I have this zip file. Okay. I'll just copy the path and I'll say npx playwright. I'll say shooters. See here, this is called a trace viewer, wherein we can trace what exactly has happened in that specific scenario. Okay. So if you see here, right, in the browser getting invoked, right, and you get the screenshot after every time stamp, right, you're getting a screenshot as well. If I come here, right, so now it will tell me, see, you can see the code as well. Where exactly am I in the code, right? And also it will tell me, when I executed this line, what was the state of it, right? The other thing is, if I click on it, right, and if I say that I'm click, it says that I used click method, right? So it will tell me the red dot that you can see, right? It will tell me that this was the element that I clicked, and then I'm validating this part, right? Okay. So it will tell me what exactly I was validating, right? And also it will tell me where exactly the code is. See, it's highlighting that code. Right? And also you get the timestamp as well as the screenshot of it. This would help you in doing the field analysis. So no, video required. Okay. No, no specific other things required. Right? There is no extra, code that needs to be written. Everything is inbuilt in Playwright. Any queries, any doubts? See, we'll talk about all the syntaxes in detail. I'll take each topic one by one. But I'm just telling you how powerful is Playwright, as compared to the other frameworks. So, any questions do you have?
No,
Initially,
no, sir.
anything that you want to ask, anything that is not clear. Shri, Vasveshwar, Priyanka, Rohit,
Yeah, clear.
right? See, basically, I want you to be really interactive. I want you to ask me questions. The more we are interacting, right, I learn more from you. You learn more from me, right? Okay. So let's make it more interactive. Let's not be quiet. Okay. Any questions? Like no questions. Question is, I would say, uh, basically, if you have any doubts, right, you can ask any questions that you want. There's no bad. There's no good question, right? Question is a question. You have doubt. I need to clear it. It's my job. So please, try to interact with me as more as you can so that it will be better for you and it will be better for me. One more thing that I have, right, we can also have video here, right? Let me see. I have that feature on. Yeah, video. If I say on, And if I run the same scenario, your file is also getting generated. Let's go to this folder. See, so I'm getting the video as well. Okay. So, there is a lot of inbuilt features that you get here, right? So coming back, right? For learning Playwright, right? We need to, you know, be thorough with the language on which the Playwright framework is built, right? Okay. So we need to understand like JavaScript first completely, and then we'll look at TypeScript, and then we'll go to Playwright. You cannot learn Playwright directly. You need to be, good with the language, okay, and then we'll move to the tool set. Okay. Okay. So now I'll close this folder. One more thing, right? Okay. Let me come here. I'll go to GitHub. Here, whenever I'm taking any session, right? What usually I do is I upload all the code in GitHub so that you know you can refer the code that like we have worked on. So if you see, I have different batches that I've been taking, right? So I'll take one of the batch, right? Let me go to Jan batch. Okay, I finished this batch now. Okay. Very quickly, I talked about JavaScript, then I talked about TypeScript, and then Playwright, right? So all the code that I used for explaining the concepts, right, is here. You can go and check it. So similarly, what I'll do is I'll create a folder for you here. I'll create a repository for you here so that and I'll share the link with you so that you can go to that specific repository and then clone the code and refer it whenever you want. Okay, are we good till now? Anything
Yes,
that
sir.
you want to add? So all the code would be here. In GitHub, I'll share the repository location with you so that you can clone that repository and refer the code. Let me do one thing. Let me close this. So I have created a folder saying, Playwright batch March 25. It's a morning batch, right? So I said morning 7. Right? This is the name that I've used for your, batch. So now today we'll start with JavaScript. Okay. First of all, what I'll do is I'll create a folder for JavaScript. Okay. Okay. Before going into the toolset and other things. Okay. One thing that we need to understand is that initially, right, you know, JavaScript when it was developed, right? JavaScript was developed, in 1991, and it was developed by a person called Brendan Each. ICH, IECH, Each. Let's go to my yeah, Each. Now, Brendan Each was the one who it was 1995 when he developed JavaScript. Okay. Each. So JavaScript was basically, you might have heard a browser. Now it's not there, but it was called as Netscape. So when the web development took place, right? You're getting the HTML pages, right? At time the um For interacting with the resource, right, we needed a language which would, basically what it will do is it will run in the background, okay, and then it will provide you with the resources. For example, I want to query and a database, get some data, and the same data needs to be shown on the HTML page. Okay. How will you do it, right? So there should be some language, you know, which would connect your HTML page, then the database, right? Yes or no? Right. So for that, they used, JavaScript in the basically what it was doing is, JavaScript engine is 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 basically a, an interpreter which is able to understand JavaScript instructions. So earlier JavaScript was only part of browser itself. Okay. Whenever you wanted to run any JavaScript code, right? Okay, no, you had to run it in the browser itself. There was no other way of doing it. So let me open my Edge browser. Okay. Let's go to the developer options. Here you will see console. Here we have console. So what I'll do is I'll say there is a command called console.log. If I say this is a playwright. See, I'm able to print you know, the text, right? Okay. So console.log, what it does is it prints the message into the console. Okay. Or I'll say that A is equal to 3, and I'll say let B is equal to 4, and I'll say console.log A plus B. Basically, it is addition of two numbers, right? See, I'm able to execute the same set of the instructions in the browser itself. Yes or no? Any questions? Any doubts? Danishwari, Rohit, Basveshwar.
Sir, getting lag into the voice and even for the video, is it for me or for like everyone is facing the same?
Audible. Okay. So do you get this point that in the earlier stage of earlier development, right? JavaScript was only part of your browser, right? You know, you were able to run the JavaScript code only in the browser. Okay. But what happened is, for example, the same set of code, right? What I'll do is let me do one thing. Let me create a file here and I'll do the same activity, right? Some things that I did, right? I said console.log, just, just copy the same commands. Now what I'll do is I'll save this file as demo.js. So let me do one thing. Let me save it as demo.js. If I want to, I've created a file on my machine and I want to run it, right? Earlier there was no way of doing it, but later what they did was, they came up with Node.js. Node.js is a software, okay, I would say, an interpreter which gets installed on your local machine. And using this, right, you can run the JavaScript code on your local machine. So Node.js help in building up, applications on your local machine. You're able to run it on your local machine and check that things are working fine on. So, so coming here, right, first of all, what I do is I'll go to my command prompt and let me say node hyphen v. See, the node version that I'm using is version 22.14.0. So what I'll do is I'll just remove this now. I'll say see Node.js was installed. I'll remove this. Just uninstall it. Take some time to uninstall. Let's wait for it to uninstall. Uninstall it, okay. So coming back to I'll just open my command prompt again. Let's say node. See, it says node. There's no like it's not able to recognize a node command, right? So no. Now without node, I'll not be able to run. I would not be able to execute my JavaScript code. Okay. For executing the JavaScript code, what I'll do is I'll go to nodejs.org here in this website. Okay, let me ping you website in the location. Okay. Now I'll click on this download Node.js. It's getting downloaded on my machine. Now, if I run it, right, let me execute the exe file. I'll keep everything as it is. Click next, and I'll install Node.js on my machine. I installed it. Now, now let me open my browser and I'll say Node positive. See, I'll be getting my Node installed. Now I want to execute the Playwright. Okay, I'll say cd desktop. Here I'll say Node. I'll say demo. So let me see what happened. Not find. Okay. Let me check where exactly my file resides. Let me do one thing. Let me get the location of this file. Full path. Come here. I'll say no. See, I'm able to do the same activity, that I was doing in the browser itself, right? So there are no messages. Okay. So, but if you see here, right? Okay, I was able to run the same set of command, right? Let me copy all this command here and paste it to. Then I'll not be able to. So whatever command that I had given here, right? I'm able to execute it on my local machine as well. So Node.js would help me in doing that. I'll be able to execute the JavaScript code, you know, which has an extension called JS, right, on my local machine. So any queries till now, are you able to understand the history, and why do we need, Node.js on your machine, right? Any questions do you have? Daneshwari, Rohit, Vasveshwar, Tejshri.
No, understood everything. But just a query like, what will be the prerequisite to run the Playwright or JavaScript that we need to install some softwares on our system? The like Node.js, you explained, correct? Are there any
Yes,
other software apart from this or any application?
now I'll talk about it, okay? But fill the statement. Why do we require Node.js? Are we clear with that?
Yes, sir.
So now, if you have any questions, please do ask. Can stop me, like at any point and ask questions. There's no restriction in asking questions. Okay. So, coming back, right? Okay. Now, you have seen that, what I did was I created a file in my Notepad plus plus, and also, you know, we were able to execute that specific code, right? But we would be needing an IDE, right? We need an integrated development environment, right? It's called as an IDE. Here we'll be using VS Code. That is called as full name is Visual Studio Code. So if you see, right, I'll go to, I've already installed it, but I'll show you from where we can install. So we'll say VS Code, search, right? See, VS Code code.visualstudio.com is the official website from where you can download it. I'll go to that website and I'm using a Windows, right? So automatically I'll get, if you have Mac or any other machine, you get, you know, um, the installer for that specific operating system. Okay. So I'll click here and it will get installed on my, see, it's getting installed. Or I would say it's not getting installed, I would say the exe is getting downloaded, the installer is getting downloaded. See, I close my existing Visual Studio instance. Now I'll just run this. I'll accept the agreement and I'll just install it. Okay. Now it is installed. You open my Visual Studio code. As it remembered my previous action. That's the reason it opened the scene folder. So we'll be using this Visual Studio Code for performing all our action related to JavaScript. Yes, you know, uh, Basveshwar, Rohit, you know, you had some questions, right? Related to the software that we need to install. Right?
Correct.
See, so this is the place where we'll be doing all our coding. Yes, Rohit, tell me.
First we install the Node.js, then we can install Playwright.
See, it's not about Playwright, it is all about, what is the integrated
Okay,
environment software that we're using, right? We're using Visual Studio Code. So we need to have Node.js and VS Code installed on the machine.
right, right, sir.
Right? So I'll share this link with you so that you can go ahead and install it on your machine. Let me go back. Once it is installed, right? Okay, we'll start with our session. So the session would start with, okay, you know, what usually I do is I'll create, as in we are learning JavaScript. Here, what I'll do is I'll create a folder called session one. Okay, and I'll get all the files here. Okay, like today's like whatever things that I'll be teaching. I'll create files for that in that specific session folder, and I'll upload it in my GitHub location, and you can clone that repository and get the latest code. So now, you know, are we good till now? Like, I mean, is the pace in which I'm teaching, you know, you're okay with it, or do you want me to slow down a little more, or do you want to increase my pace of explaining things? So please do let me know.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So now, we are left with only few minutes today. Okay, so we'll talk about variable declaration today. So whenever, right, we are creating any, we want our Node.js to understand our instructions. Okay, what I want is that we need to have an extension called JS in front of all the files. This is what we need to remember. Okay, if you have come from the other languages, right? For example, Java, right? You have .java file, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Similarly, if you come from C# background, right? There is a .cs file. Okay, so basically, those compilers would only understand those extensions, right? Similarly, here Node.js would be understanding only the JS extension. Okay. Now we'll talk about variable declaration. So variables can be declared by three ways. Okay. There are three keywords that we need to understand. That is let, var, and const. Okay. So now we'll say like why do we need three? I'll explain all the three one by one. So I'll say let keyword, right? Okay. If I say like for example, let's say a, and if I want to declare a variable, I can do it with let keyword. I'll say 10, and I'll say console.log, and I'll just call that variable here. I'll be able to print. Okay, let me run this test. Let me run this file. I'll go to terminal. I'll navigate to my JavaScript folder, and then I have session one. Here I'll say node if I want. I'm running the JavaScript file, right? And I'll say variable declaration. Okay, fine. Got it. The file is not in the session folder. That's the reason I'm not able to. I've moved that file. Now if I say here, see, I declared a variable, okay, and also I assigned a value to it, right? And I was able to use that variable. Okay. Similarly, I can also do it in the other way is var b is equal to. So now if I say console.log, if I say d, I'm able to click, I'm able to use that. Okay. So the question would arise, like, if we are able to declare variable through let, like, why do we have var? Or if I have var, right, keyword, right, then why do we need, let keyword, right? So it depends on the scope. Okay. So var is basically a global scope. Once declared, right? Okay, it will be available across the scope. Okay, I'll give you an example of that. Okay, and let is basically for local scope. So uh, I'll stop here for a while. Okay. Let's meet tomorrow, and I'll continue from where I've been explaining. We'll talk about the scope now, about let and var. Okay, because it's already 8 o'clock. I have to get on to another class as well. Okay. So, any doubts? Any questions do you have till now?
No, sir.
Yeah, good, right? Yeah. So, whatever that I've explained today, right? Try to do that on your local machine and see that are you able to run the code out, right? Let me ping you the code. Just try running this code on your local machine and see whether you're able to do it or not. Okay. Right? Yeah. So let's meet tomorrow. Okay. If you have any questions, ping me on WhatsApp. I'll be able to resolve your queries. Okay. Fine.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you all for joining. I'll just stop the recording.
Thank you.